for attending this Finance Strategy and Management Committee meeting on Tuesday, the 26th of March in Middletown Chambers. This meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to the Middletown Council YouTube page. The aim is that decisions making should be transparent and in the public domain, which will involve more of our community and local democracy. By being in this council chamber, you're consenting to be recorded and your images will be added to the YouTube page. Images and sound will be used for training purposes. All views are expressed are the speaker's own and not necessarily a reflection of town councils. Please view the guidelines on recordings in public meetings if you need more information. Thank you. I'll make a start on here. 83, declarations of interest. Any declared?
Apologies.
Apologies, sorry. Apologies.
Apologies for apologies.
Apologies for apologies, sorry.
It's Councillor Brady.
Ready.
Councillor Smith's running late. She's still at work. She'll be here as soon as she can.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, next one, sorry. 83. Declarations of interest, disposable pecuniary interests. And any other interest. Other interest. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, on the James Bateman issue, I've got 2 grandchildren there.
No.
Thank you. Councillor Parton and Salt.
Yeah, I'm a member of Moore's Partnerships.
Yeah.
Oh, better do we know.
Governor at James Bateman, so I won't speak.
Do you meet from all of us?
All as partnership. Okay, Mr. Mayor. Yeah. Any other interests? No? Okay. Now, before I start, I know it's a big agenda, I understand that, but I had an emergency item come in regarding the Bill Grange Visit Centre terms and conditions. Will you accept that I put it on as the last agenda item of 103 and we'll keep it as short as possible? We'll
Move it to
make this evening. All in favour of doing that? Thank you. 84. Further minutes of the meeting, finance strategy meeting held on the 23rd of January. Field Town Council on the 13th of February. I shall just go through them very briefly. Minutes, we've got them many papers here, I'm going under at the moment. Yes,
Is there a need to go through them when they've already been done through
No,
the town council? Is that?
skip them if you were happy to make time up. We're just going to go quick, I don't have to do. Sign
Well, I'll just read them all.
No problem.
Can I move with acceptance, yeah?
Yeah, all in favour? Yeah, thank you. Decide those.
They've already been done.
Okay, well, submit things, haven't they?
Yeah.
Okey dokey.
Where is me?
Right. Shut where I am. 85A. Through the bank reconciliation for December 2023 and January 24. All accounts attached. It's on 85. I'll go through these. As you can see, if there's anything you want to bring up, please be conscious that we're on YouTube if you're mentioning figures. So that's 85A. Any thoughts or comments, or can I?
Seconded.
Seconded, all in favour? Yep. 85B. Receive a verbal update on the Unity online banking procedure following the first month of usage. Just quickly on that, the Unity Bank is up and running. I've made the first successful payment. It was a bit of a head scratcher to start with, but it should get easier as time goes on. Thanks to Lizzie for helping out with that as well. Chief Officer, please.
Fine, there's not much to say from me really. The balance today at Unity is £63,415.17. As you know, we amended our financial regulations in January to try and formalise a process for payments online. So far, I'm not reporting to you that we need any changes, but obviously we'll consider those again as we usually do in May. But so far, albeit the process of kind of setting up beneficiaries is a bit long-winded. It's going okay so far. Yes, that's our feedback so far. Thank you.
Councillor Jackson.
So that paperwork that we received from Unity about 6 months ago now.
Yeah.
Have we got to actually formally fill that stuff in now? Or?
So you can view the account with those with that information. As members of this committee, you've got viewing rights for that. As is normally the case with our financial works, the people who can do the approval for the chair and deputy of the finance committee, and then the mayor and deputy as well. So they're the approvers. As members of this committee, you can log on with your information. You'll need your memorable word from us, which we set up when we did it. But then you can view the transactions on that account. So that provides an additional layer of scrutiny.
Yes, Councillor Yates.
Yes, I need a new log-on letter if you don't mind. I think we inadvertently read it.
Once you get onto it, what I'm told, it is quite straightforward. You get a request to make a payment, and you just click on accepted, job done, basically, once it's all set up. Councillor Hawke.
Is the chief officer happy with it?
Yeah, so far. I think, my hope is that it will speed everything up and hopefully make the process of approvals and the kind of management of our day-to-day finances much more straightforward. We should, in theory, be able to see the exact current position of our account. And as things stand with the NatWest account, we have to wait for the paper bank statement after the end of each month. So, you know, I'm coming to you in a few agenda items time to say that this is money I anticipate will come in. This is money I anticipate we'll have to pay out, but actually I'm a bit blind on that until middle of March. So hopefully it should provide us a different, an additional level of kind of, you know,
Move it, Chair.
to.
Just for information for you anyway, basically, thank you. 87. Approve the revised monitoring councillor's job description attached. Now, 1 second, I'm telling you wrong, 86 on, sorry. Sorry,
Chair, excuse me, have I blinked and missed 86?
no, I just said, sorry, 86, sorry, that's what I said, my mistake, sorry.
Okay.
Receive a summary receipts for payments of 23-24 to date attached, paperwork is attached.
Yeah, it's just a one-sheet document, this, Chair, just to say what the position is so far. Obviously, there's a bit of a flurry of activity that comes throughout March as people kind of try to settle up with each other. So I anticipate the position will change slightly on that, but that's where we are as things stand.
Okay, okay with that one. Now, on 86P, we have got,
So you've got, I've given
received
you,
update,
I've given you a pack.
anticipated income, yeah.
Sorry, I've given you a pack of kind of up-to-date quotations you've received and just some notes really that I've put together to assist with the kind of flow of the agenda. So in terms of 86, then 86B, you've got a table there of the income that we anticipate receiving before the end, before we close our accounts. So we anticipate the final 2 service charges of the year being issued to the county and the police. So that's obviously their contribution towards the running of this building. We kind of can't send that until quite late in the month, and we've received all the relevant bills to attach to that. We have submitted some information for our UK Shared Prosperity Fund allocations. So you'll see there we've got nearly £15,000 due for that. We've received confirmation that we've been successful with our climate change grant from the County Council. Income is due from Citizens Advice for their first 2 months occupation of this building, and we'll also get £2,000 from Staffordshire Northern District Council as a contribution towards our market and events.
Yeah, Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, with regards to 86 and the service charges for county council and police, is that split evenly amongst the two, or is the how much office space they're actually taking up?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so the equation was done by Staffordshire Northern District Council before we took over the management of the building. And It's one I think we should probably have a look at some point. It's based on occupancy and floor space. So so we calculate our costs in relation to insurance, gas, electricity, water, any repairs and maintenance activity, and then they pay a contribution towards the site management as well. So there's a contribution towards us in terms of the kind of compliance and monitoring activity, and also the caretaking provision as well.
Quick to come back.
That's right.
Just looking at what the CAB paid £1,500, and they've got quite a small area. I mean, they only operate twice a week, but all right, they've got that for, all the time, I understand that. It just wonder whether it's exactly the same equation used for CAB, it's used for the police and.
No, so don't forget the service charge bit is the bit that's on top of the rent. So there's a rental element that's received from the county and the police as well, and that's a fixed figure. We always charge service charge on top of that rental element. The figure from Systems Advice there is just their rental of the 2 rooms, and they don't, because they don't occupy a space, they don't pay a service charge in the same way as the other tenants.
What I'm thinking, what I'm looking at is the 1,500.
Yeah.
Does not equate in my mind for how much space they've got compared to how much the police and social services have got. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It's different figures. The service charge, they don't pay a service charge. They don't occupy a space.
For the police and the county council. Is that just service charge?
Yeah.
That's just service.
It's just service charge.
Okay, right.
Yeah, the rental element is fixed, so we just invoice them that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jones?
Yeah, CAB, is that was 2 months?
Yeah.
2 months end.
Then we'll start.
They're paying that much a month.
No. And then we'll start a quarterly payment scheme with them beyond that, but they started in February.
Okay, all clear on that then? Okay, thank you. Moving on to 87. We received monitoring councillor's job description. This is put together by Councillor Hawley and Neil Eardley. His new sidekick who's helping out now. Can I ask one of you to bring in?
Yeah, I mean,
What on this, please?
when we looked at this, we actually ended up using what Margaret had actually put together originally. And what we did is that we sort of basically added to that and how often certain things should be looked at. It now does cover and sort of say things that should be quarterly, 6 monthly, or annually. And on top of that, we added the spreadsheet that we use for when we do our quarterly review. So that basically it gives you an insight to what has to be done on a quarterly basis. I think the only thing that we added in there was that we also said that basically the monitoring councillor should also keep an eye on what's going on in council meetings as well, and that we actually adhere to rules as we got them set out and should pick that up if necessary. Other than that, that's potentially what's in there. There's Margaret stated in terms of this is what a gold council should be doing. Therefore, we're basically monitoring that we keep on top of that. We added in the date of when you should do it. We added in the fact that the quarterly spreadsheet was there. And we basically I think the only other additional thing was that we just said, but we'll monitor what goes on in council meetings and that we basically keep to the rules as they're actually laid down. But that covers what the job description says. So if anybody's got any questions on that, then fine. Anybody needs that?
So all in favour of that, all in favour? Thank you for that comprehensive report. Getting on to 87B. Receive a report following the January and March internal control visiting by Councillor Hawley and Early. Can I bring you in again on that one, please?
Well, again, I mean, we did our usual quarterly report and we didn't find any, we put it red flags and so there was no issue. So not really anything to sort of report and sort of say something or whatever. So we did fine. And we're back again next week, having another look to to get ourselves back up on the track in terms of how many we're supposed to be doing a year. So, that's where we're
Nice
at.
enough to report in many ways, if this system is working as it should do. Thank you for that. Moving on to 87, Steve. The significant events that have occurred during 23-24, the town council's response to them, tabled.
Thank you. So this is in your pack. It's a bullet pointed list. So one of the things that we are required to do as part of our audit, and so we're thinking about the year that's just coming to an end. And one of the things that we must think about is what might have been classed as a significant event that we maybe couldn't have foreseen or moved faster or progressed differently than we might have perceived at the start of the financial year or when we were setting the budget at the end of 22-23. So in terms of significant events, and I suppose it's just a conversation starter with you really in terms of whether you think our approach was effective, whether there's anything that we need to consider for the next financial year. We've identified that ongoing high energy bills have continued to be an issue. Biddulph Works Together continue to provide support to the community. Obviously, during this financial year, we've had the coronation of a new king and we've had elections which resulted in new councillors. From the town council perspective, that's obviously brought in new faces and new views on things, potential a risk there in terms of the continuation of some of our activities, but also obviously an opportunity to develop new projects. Shared Prosperity Fund came along finally and gave us the opportunity to be able to apply for some of those projects that we've been working on, which then resulted in the approval of projects that required a capital spend, such as the Town Hall frontage, Woodhouse Burial Ground, Garden of Remembrance. We finally got there with our neighbourhood plan and neighbourhood development order in this last financial year. We took on a new storage facility and I've included there that we've got a range of new partners this year, which has been really positive, partly as a result of the Biddulph Works Together project, but also partly as a result of our continued activity within this building, and our having new tenants and having new groups within the town hall. We were also successful with the Rosper Silver Award, so that strengthens our position with regards to health and safety, and we were shortlisted for the Visa Award. So I think they are kind of significant events. Obviously, we've completed a lot of projects, but in terms of things that had either a financial or a reputational impact, I think these are worthy of consideration.
Thank you. Right, moving on to D. Okay.
Make a comment.
Yeah. Consider them.
No, I thought somebody put their hand up and wanted to speak, but nobody did.
I was waiting for you to say there's any comments, you know. And I was going to-
Well, but nobody put their hand up, I just thought you were okay with it.
Move on, Chair.
Just the first one, very briefly, ongoing high energy bills. I mean, that's something which has affected every aspect of society and individuals as well. I have arranged and posed it rather on Sarah, a meeting with a company called CEC Renewables, who were exhibiting at the Stoke-on-Trent and Staffordshire COP, which is a big climate change conference at Stafford University. They come highly recommended. He's going to have a walk through both of, as it happens here, and at Biddulph Grange Visitor Centre, and at my house. So we get an idea of what is possible to do there. They do come highly recommended and potentially can give us some ideas and steers on the kind of things which we should be looking at with regards to solar panels and battery backup, because one of the things which we can do, which is something relatively new. So if you've got battery backup, you can go onto the cheaper tariff, charge your batteries in the night and use the energy from that battery in the day. And that should save a significant amount. So that's hopefully the rest part of that. So.
Okay, any more comments? Thank you for that.
Move it, Chair. Second.
Thank you for the comprehensive report, but energy bills and this bills are high water, we've got to do something about it. That's not for this discussion. Thank you. All right, moving on to D then. First, to confirm that recommendations from the 22-23 audit have been completed, attached on your paperwork here.
Thank you. So I think many of you will have seen the recommendations from the internal auditor and from the external auditor. These are included within your pack, just to kind of refresh your memory really, but I need to confirm with you that the recommendations from 2022-23 have been completed, such as they were. There were no formal qualifications or formal recommendations, just potential for small improvements in our approach. I think there was one that said that we should have, we should minute things in a slightly different way, which we've taken on board for this year going forward. So I'm required to confirm with you that those have been completed. Yesterday, we received the information from the auditors for 23-24. The auditors will be Mazars as our external auditor. And it looks as though we should be okay with that so far, but we're working frantically behind the scenes to make sure we provide all the information that's required.
Thank you for that update. Any comments? Okay. Thank you. 88 then. Asset management. Receiving an update on the management of the assets and the inventory of purchases and to approve the current asset register. There's a TV presentation on this.
No, there's not. I haven't done that in the end.
Oh, okay
In
then.
the end, I decided that I'd mix it up a bit, and I would just update everybody on our approach to the management of assets. So for those who are not familiar, Scribe is our accounting package, and Scribe has the ability as well to be able to monitor our assets, so we can take them off our asset register and we can add them to our asset register through our purchase system. So that's made the whole process much more transparent. We can obviously link invoices then and the purchase dates and the original purchase price to the asset register. So that's provided us with a different level of transparency than previously. But at this time of year, the process that we go through is we review all of our purchases and all of our capital purchases during the course of the year to make sure they've filtered through to Scribe and Scribe properly. And we go through those purchases as well. And we also create an inventory. So that could be things like we bought 3 staplers, or it's potentially much smaller value items. But one of the things that we noted historically was that kind of going back some years, we hadn't got a definitive list of the things that we'd purchased. And so that is an attempt to combat that really. So if we can say, it doesn't seem like 5 minutes since we bought X, whatever that X might be, you can say, well, actually, it was 5 years ago and the life of it was only predicted to be 3 years. You know, that's potentially an example of that. So in terms of kind of updating you on our position with that, I've given you our current asset register, which is the A3 sheet. By all means, take that away, digest it. If there's any immediate observations that you've got on there, by all means, I'm happy to answer them. But this is the format that we get it in Scribe. As I say, we'll go through the process of data cleansing this from now on. But this is the items that we've got. We've kind of lumped some of them together under one, under it kind of into categories. So, for example, within market equipment, we wouldn't put every gazebo in separately, but we'd increase the overall value of the market equipment, and we do it that way. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, Councillor Yates and then Salt.
It's just a quick one. I mean, that's really almost self-explanatory, but there's 2 columns of figures which are identical. Plus also, is the second column the value as it is at this moment in time, as opposed to an actual charge over the last year? I presume the first column where the figure is the same, is that something which is being purchased new this year? What I'm guessing.
The financial columns, you mean?
The 2 financial columns, yeah, that's the short column which is replicated. I presume that is the book value, and that is what's been purchased this year.
Tell you that in just a minute. Some of the items that we've transferred over to Scribe, we didn't have a lot of information on. we obviously know that we have them. So the first column is the purchase value and the second column is the current value.
Good, thank you, Chief Officer. Councillor Straw?
You know where it says the market equipment, says at the shed at Last Edge, has that not been moved yet to the? It has, yeah.
Just. That's one of the data cleansing things that we need to do, but yeah, it's just gone. And this week I've informed our insurance company about transfer as well, so we put it under there.
And have you got, am I allowed, is there an update on that? Is it as we expected? Are you happy with what's gone in there and? Thank you.
All right. Yeah, Councillor Lawton?
My question was originally intended to be along the lines of that last by Councillor Yates. However, you're right, an amended policy is there a depreciation policy?
So we're not, but through our financial regulations, we're not required to factor in depreciation. So we only look at original purchase price. And sometimes if there's no information about purchase price, we just add it down as a pound.
Reverend Farrer, is that right?
Yeah, of course. Everyone knows.
Reverend Farrer, sir.
Behind the residential.
I get that back.
To save a bit of money on the environment.
That's it. Okay. 89 then.
Everyone happy to receive that?
Oh, sorry, yeah, thanks, trying to rush it through too much here. All in favour? Thank you. Might not be here till midnight, sorry about that.
No, it's
89. To an update on the management of reserves, presentations and proposals for 2024-25.
Thank you. So we have a reserves policy which will come to the next finance committee. When we have a figure that we're happy with for our year end, we then present a formal position with regards to our reserves for that year. But what I've printed off for you now is the appendix, which we change each year based on that figure. And these are the figures that we allocated to different projects through our reserves. And now the reason I bring it to you at this stage is so that you have sight of it. This is what we allocated in this financial year just completed. But the internal control process that Councillor Hawley has just referred to, we've had some debates about this really, haven't we? Mainly around our IT equipment. So our current laptops are, don't get into this bit specifically, but by way of context for this, are 3 years old, which means they're no longer within their warranty. That's not every member of staff, but those that we originally purchased. And so the conversation that we had through internal control, and Councillor Hawley will chip in, I'm sure, was that whether we should, and I think it's good practice to allocate a sum of money within each year's budget for the replacement of those laptops. The problem that we've had historically, and particularly the past couple of years, is that that would mean a more significant increase in our precept than we had wanted to do. And as well, we've got quite a significant amount in reserve. So we haven't allocated an amount of money through the precept for replacing our laptops, but we had allocated replacement hardware for IT as an earmarked reserve, as it is a kind of project allocation. So it's what we're interested really in the approach to this. Do you feel as though the current approach to managing reserves is effective in terms of the fact that we allocate smaller amounts, as you've seen here, to individual projects, and the projects come from our action plan and they come from our strategy? Or do you want to generate more income through the precept? Obviously, that would be next financial year to cover some of the issues like replacement IT. I don't think there's a right or wrong way necessarily when you've got such high level of reserves that we have. And we can call replacement IT as a project, a town council project. But it's as I start to pull together the reserves figures for next financial year, it would like a steer on that really, I think.
Just very briefly, are all the laptops the same age?
No,
Okay, so I haven't got detail all in on it then?
No.
I've got councillor Yates, Wood and Hawley, please. Yates.
Yes, two things. I presume the capital stroke public realms projects in town hall frontage, that's not mentioned as a product project specific
It's,
in the earmark reserves.
it's last year's.
I haven't spent, have we?
No, we'd called it capital public realm project
Right,
because at the
okay.
time we didn't know what the shared prosperity fund would let us do. So we allocated a fund towards any kind of frontage,
Right,
street type
I
project.
suspect it was, it's just that
Rename it now that we
with
know.
it not being spelled out, that's absolutely fine. And secondly, with regard to the use of earmark reserves for relatively minor things, like, in some respects, like IT replacements and whatever, my sort of view is that what was in the mind of the previous councillors who build up a strategic reserve? Was it to subsidise precepts going forward on things like computers which aren't being invented, or was it for significant projects which took the town forward? And I think I'm not going to make a comment on that, but that's a thought I've put into your mind. You know, if we were building up a strategic reserve, I would personally consider that at the time. We would be talking about significant capital projects which take the town forward collectively.
Councillor Yates. Councillor Wood.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a minimum we have to keep in reserve. Is that the figure what's quoted in that report, Stephen?
Yeah, at the moment we keep, if I may, Chair, sorry.
Yeah,
We have a general reserves allocation of just shy, in this year, just shy of 200,000, because we essentially keep 6 months worth of precept, basically.
Because, I mean, and I'm not scaremongering, I'll be honest, but there is moots going around government that council reserves could be an option to get back into the coffers of government. Now, we've got a healthy reserve. Would we be better if we started earmarking projects, big, you know, I'm not saying big projects, but projects by the town council where we can earmark that money for that project? Because my fear at some point, and because of the financial situation the country's in, there could well be a scenario where that might happen, where councils might be allowed to keep a certain amount of reserves, and it might be more than what we've got at the moment, you know, the minimum reserve. Because my fear is all the hard work that's gone in over decades on this council and accumulating them reserves could be taken away in one foul swoop if the government get the way, you know, and that's in the Local Government Association magazine. That isn't me scaremongering. That's what ministers are talking about at the moment. So it might be, as we sort of start looking at bigger projects and have them in line, if you like, ducks in a row, to spend the money before the government start coming and taking it off us anyway. So it's just something I think we need to be aware of. And notwithstanding, it may not happen, it may happen. But certainly it's an option I think the government is certainly seriously looking at. And that does scare us really in terms of the hard work that's gone on over the decades here in keeping the reserves at the level they are now. And to have them taken away by just a stroke of a pen by a government minister just scare me, I'll be honest. And I'm not saying, you know, whoever's the next administration would do anything different either.
Thank you for that. It's definitely something to keep an eye on, something for the future, but thanks for that update on that. Councillor Hawley, Hart and Lawson, Hawley.
Yeah, just sort of my take on why I was sort of saying that potentially I thought that the laptop should be included within the precept. The actual laptops are part of the administration of the council. And potentially that administration of the council is concluded in the precept. And I think everything that's actually in there, potentially as far as doing the job, that should be included within the precept, and potentially we should charge for that. And I think if we start pulling the money out of reserves, it's going to present a false picture in terms of what the administration is actually paying for and what the people are paying for. Okay, we've got the reserves, and fully, I've actually been advocating we should spend it for donkey's years. That we need to get some way of spending the money, but potentially what we need to do is included in the precept is the cost of these laptops being replaced. And it should be always in there. There should be a fixed amount that each year we're going to have to replace so many laptops because the warranty runs out. And so that was my sort of way of thinking on how this should be administered. And again, I totally agree with Chris. We need to sort of make sure that we actually come round and start spending some of this money. And so effectively, they can't come back and wallop us. I mean, I've advocated, as I said, for donkey's years, that potentially if we're not careful, somebody's going to come back and hammer us and say, we've got all this money, well, why are you claiming back? You know, and Staffordshire Moorlands will say, well, we're not giving you any money because you've already got it. But in terms of actually the laptops, it is part of the administration of the council. And in my mind, it should be included within the precept. And that is where I was coming from.
I agree. Thank you. This town hall frontage may use some of it anyway, but Councillor Hart.
Yeah, to confirm, having been on this council since 2003, that we put that money on the side for major capital projects. And that's what it should be for. And we've got projects that we have been looking at very seriously. Not all have come to fruition because of the non-cooperation of owners and things like that. But I do agree we should be spending the money because I've read the same stuff Chris has read, except it's coming from civil servants who are priming government ministers into thinking, well, this is a good way of propping up some councils that haven't done very well. We'll take from council A to give to council B, indirectly through the government. And the last thing we want is to find the rug pull from under us and suddenly somebody says, hand over 250,000 quid now, because we're going to give it to Birmingham. And that's the pull of it. I agree with Dave, Councillor Hawley, that we should be getting these out of the precept. It should be, I think, what we used to call a sinking fund, which is basically stuff we know we've got to actually replace. So we program it in as an automatic amount that we have to account for to actually fulfill the up-to-date functions of this council. And that is, you know, providing of good quality IT facilities. But we shouldn't be pulling it out of reserves because they should be going to what we designed them to do. Many councillors have sat round this table and others and said, we're putting this money on for the development of the future for the people of Biddulph. And it should be for major capital projects. And we're far better off than many other town councils. We've been, I'm not going to use the word prudent, we've been really good at acquiring money to do projects, and we're starting to look at these projects. So let's not spoil it. Let's get this money allocated for projects. We tried with the church at Brownlees, did we not? And we tried with other properties. We'll keep on trying because other stuff will come up that will fulfil the needs of people in Biddulph. But we are far better at organising these things than many other neighbouring town councils, shall we say, and I won't name any names, but we are, and that's why we're up for awards and they're not. So that's the way I see it.
Thank you for that. I think there's some in the pipeline, like the visit centre work and stuff like that. Councillor Lawton.
Just generally, it struck me that a conservative, little c folks, not a big one, a conservative accountancy approach should be that revenue type expenditure on relatively small capital things should come out of the precept, rather than from reserve. If we wait for the day when the economy is favourable and we haven't got to be mindful of council taxpayers' financial problems, I think we'll wait forever. There will always be a case for doing something to help there. So really, I think the pressing one is that's been raised by Councillor Wood and confirmed by others of the possibility of government interference, I'll call it. And I think a lot of people have now spoken along that line far more eloquently than I could, but that's my view. I think using it for capital projects as the forebears originally conceived, I think is a very justifiable way. But to use it, for example, to indefinitely top up the precept, I don't think is as satisfactory in my opinion.
Thank you. I hope they don't take anything off us, so we've got to look after this anyway. Councillor Salt.
I agree with what's been said in terms of the fact that it should come out of the precept, but how does that help us right now when we need new laptops? So, we've just said, if I could question the chief
Yeah,
officer.
please, yeah, go on.
Do we need laptops in the not too distant future, as in within the next financial year, and are they in the precept?
They're out of warranty. Apparently Dell don't really like to extend the warranty, so we're in a position now where all of those that need replacing at some point, we just saved the shared drive just in case something happens with the laptop, because obviously we wouldn't then have that repair available to us, that option. This was the reason for the conversation, really. You know, obviously the day-to-day IT costs are included in the precept. So all telephone stuff, all your email addresses, all of the kind of management services that we get, they are within the precept. But previously, we've included the kind of capital one-off spend as being part of our reserves. What we've done in times gone by is allocated a chunk of money from the precept to go towards capital projects, but the precept has also increased, the reserves have also increased because, you know, potentially we had more burials than we thought we would, or some projects that we accounted for through the precept didn't come forward. So it's not just that the reserves are, you know, our kind of savings for a rainy day. They have been accumulated through other means as well. And then the reason we have a reserves policy is exactly for the reason that you've said. And when we've been asked by the external auditors about why we have our reserves and whether we've got those allocated, you know, we've sent them our reserves policy. We've sent them the bit at the back that says that they're all allocated. And that hasn't been questioned previously. But I do take the point, you know, that there's potentially some issues there. The short answer is no, the precept hasn't covered expenditure in relation to hardware. It covers all the day-to-day costs, but in order to keep the precept increase low or tolerable, we haven't included that. And there's a few projects, as you'll see on here, that we haven't included within the precept, and that if we need to, we'll call on reserves for.
I haven't finished, Chair. Can I come back? So it would be my view in this instance that we need IT. We all realise the importance of IT and making sure that the council runs smoothly. Within the next financial year, my suggestion is that the immediate laptops, so how many do we need? Is it 3, did you say?
Yeah.
So the 3 laptops come out of reserves this time around, and moving forward, they get added to the next financial year's precept. But they need laptops. We haven't got them in this year's precept. They've got to come out of reserves. That would be the way, that would be my proposal. And then we change that moving forwards.
Well, a proposer there.
Sorry,
I've
Chair.
got a couple of the speakers, and we'll go to the vote on that, I think.
You
Chief Officer.
don't really need a vote on that necessarily, Chair, because you're just receiving an update. And I would want to bring more detailed information to you about the laptops if my focus of having this was following the internal control visit. There are things which are not included in our precept because we've got funds available for them and we haven't wanted to increase precept too much. So maybe the point, the answer then is when we bring the reserves policy back to you next month for formal approval, we also include some information in there that says you haven't included these in the precept, and we remind you again what that is. And then you'll need to kind of carry that forward when you set the precept next time.
Just very quick, I've got 2 other speakers here.
So would it be then that if the financial systems can do this, that when you bring that back next month, you look at what the precept was last year, you look at what was spent of the precept, and you look at therefore what was left from the precept and what's gone into reserves, and that might be a prudent way that when the unexpected comes up, and we have to dip into reserves, we can see that there's some precept left over, because from what you've just said, it's evident that there is.
Please.
Yeah, so there might not be in the past couple of years because of energy bills, but certainly I can go back previously and say you set £25,000 aside for capital projects and building up reserves, but actually we put 40,000 into reserves at the end of the year. We can do that piece of work.
That'd be great, because I think then that would give some justification to councillors. When we might need to make these one-off things, then we've got some justification of doing so.
That'd be the way forward. Councillor Jones.
Chair, that's sort of was pretty much what I was going to say. I'm a bit, that's the second time I've done that. So, but yeah, we are where we are, aren't we? We are where we are. We need new laptops. We can't change the precept set.
That for this year.
So, it's got to come out reserved, not it, this time. Going forward, we need this housekeeping fund, that type of stuff, which will have to be put on the precept. So, it's a no-brainer, isn't it? But as Sarah rightly says, it's not for tonight, then.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Eardley.
Yeah, following on from John. Jill's already said it, John said it again, I'm just saying, I agree completely as well. Get his hand in his pocket, sort it out, IT to and forward, certain ways.
That's the general consensus, yeah. Councillor Jackson. Thank you.
I think two things. I think we have been criticised in the past about having unearmarked reserves, and auditors wanted to know what are we building this money up for, and we did go through a process of saying, well, that's for that, that's for that, that's for that. Secondly, on the laptops, are they being replaced just because they've run out of guarantee or some license or something? Because if they're still operational, or are they new ones for new councillors? I'm not sure. But if we are we replacing them for that reason, that they're out of license or out of guarantee, is the first question.
I'll definitely bring more. It was an example really at the start. I'll need to bring more back to you about the laptops and the
I'm
situation.
just thinking if they're working all right.
They are working at the moment, but if anything went wrong.
Yeah, so mine is not plugged in now. By the end of this meeting, we best hope that we've talked fast because the battery will have gone and I won't be able to share that with you. So it's the battery life is reduced, and if there is an issue, then there's no one coming to fix it anymore. So I'm trying to be with that particular issue, and I did only raise it just for context as regards what we should and shouldn't put in reserves in the precept. With that particular issue, we'll need to have some costs in our minds and an approach to that should the potentially inevitable happen.
Okay.
Yeah. Councillor Hawley.
Yeah, I'm sort of thinking in terms of this from an accounting point of view, that what we should be doing is actually taking these laptops out of the relevant item budget within the system. And effectively what that's going to mean is an overspend on that particular item. And then we just, for this year, as has been suggested, we just cover it by the reserves and just show it as an overspend, and we've covered it. And basically, I think would be the way forward for this year. Yeah.
So it's evil, isn't it? We've got to spend on. Councillor Salt, then I'll bring it to an end. This.
I will just say, going back to what Councillor Wood has said, I've had it twice actually, just thinking about this, from SMDC. Once about the Biddle Works Together Fund, when SMDC wouldn't free any funding to go towards Biddle Work Together because they've said you've got enough in reserves, Biddle Town Council have. And then just today, there's a piece of land on Queen's Drive that's all torn up. There's a bit of a debate over ownership. SMDC, I'm pretty convinced you own it, but that's another story. But they suggested to me, SMDC have suggested to me today, ask Biddle Town Council if they've got any money and they'll put towards it because we haven't. So they, other councils know that we've got money in reserves, and other councils are saying, you spend your money, we'll keep ours. So I think we've definitely got to get into a position where our reserves are earmarked. Because people are already starting to say, you use your money.
Thank you for that. Want to summarise on that?
Yeah, no, our reserves are earmarked and they have been for some time. So all of these figures here are allocated to particular projects. So they can come and have us maintain the green space if they want. We'll have their money rather than spending ours. But we're in a strong position as regards audit and our reserves being allocated. We're not just building up a pot of money with no vision for that. It's this kind of play between what's precept and what's reserved that's we've got some steer on that now, so thank you.
Okay, way forward, council, yeah, the last one, sorry.
Just a quick one, IT enhancements and replacements, what does that cover then? Is that laptops or?
Yeah.
It does.
Okay, we're happy with that then?
Yes, I've got a steer for
Yeah.
next time I bring that to you, thank
All
you.
right, thanks for that input. We know which way we're heading for now anyway. Thank you. All right, number 90. To receive an update on the UK Shared Prosperity Fund project. We've got £4,660.
Yeah, coming our way. So that's on the front sheet of your agenda notes as well. So we've got 3 sets of money that are coming our way. The garden event, the feasibility study and the older people's project. So that's the funding we should get so far. We've also been allocated funds for the town hall frontage, but we haven't received any paperwork for that yet. I think because it's such a large chunk of money in comparison to these smaller pots. That's what we're waiting on. The legal team at the district council are doing that. But I've added this agenda item on here as well because we've supported quite a number of the town centre businesses to apply for shared prosperity funding for capital improvements to their frontages. So whether that be replacement windows or the wooden bits, whatever it is they're looking at. So we've supported quite a few with that. And as I understand it, there'd been I think we'd had a sort of ring fence chunk for Biddle for something like £30,000 for frontages, and they've certainly already received more than that. Albeit the pot is bigger than £30,000, but we've had a sum allocated for Biddle that we were supposed to spend before the end of March, and so it's looking positive for that. As I understand it, nobody has yet been informed that they've been granted the money because it has to go to the board approval, which I think is something like the middle of April. But we've worked quite hard to make sure that funding does come to our high street. There is additional funding within that pot, and so there's still a couple of shops who want our support with their applications. But I think there's been a pause for the grant applications at the moment, and there's something on the website to say it will commence again in May. There are currently no live application processes, only pots of money. So, but yeah, so far, on the face of it, that seems quite positive for our high street.
Thank you, councillor Saul.
At the next meeting, could you bring back which shops have had received some funding? Will we know that?
I haven't received it yet, but there's something in the pipeline. Isn't there?
Maybe. I think it depends whether they publish the results, and I'm not sure they do. I'm not sure whether they do or not. So the board meeting, I think, is in April, and we've got a finance meeting just after that. So hopefully, we should start here. I might go around and just ask them. We'll soon know.
It'd be nice to know, I think.
Yeah. And some because we promoted the scheme quite widely and said, the money's ring fenced. It's only ring fenced for a short period of time for Biddle. Actually, quite a number of shops as well just went up and did it themselves, which was brilliant. But I think some of our kind of more established shops had struggled a little bit with that, just because it's it's a form that they're not used to doing. So
One shop who would like to get some of it has asked for 3 quotes, as he does, and he's struggling to get 3 quotes at the moment. So we're trying to help him with that one.
yeah.
We don't want to lose the money, but we're struggling to get the 3 quotes. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, I think we perhaps need to be looking, I've got a vision as we come towards the last 9 months of this funding. We'll be scrambling around looking for projects to throw money at. I really do think that, because just seems to be more money in the churning around, and the decision-making process is, I'm not saying dead slow, but it's laboured. I think that could be speeded up somewhat from the district council's point of view. We've got a shut-off date for the shared prosperity funding, which it's quite sure, but I can't remember the actual date when it closes. But anyway, the business breakfast that we had, I think that kickstart a lot of the businesses in the town, and then word of mouth will probably, hopefully, sped out to others. But on the shop, on the town hall frontage one, we haven't had the paperwork through yet, but we've had an indicative an amount that is going to be allocated.
Yeah.
So really, we should, as a town council now, be making a decision on what we are going to do with that formally to appoint architects and all the rest of it and get that thing on the road. Because I really would like to see work happening out there this summer. And, I think that should be a target, really. We should be having work people on that thing this summer. And I think most of the things are in a line. And I'm just wondering now then what the next step that we need to do as a town council to do that, whether it comes back formally to town council too late next week. For something formal.
The only thing that's made me slightly pause on that is not knowing what this letter will say that will come with the grant offer. So I'm assuming they'll want a formal tender process, which obviously we're geared up to. But I'm not just sure yet, because we haven't been allocated a sum as large as this through shared prosperity, what the advertising process will be and what the kind of procurement requirements are. That's the only reason for the pause. But we can certainly add it to a town council agenda to get that started again.
Perhaps from the district council, get some indication from when this formal letter should be coming back. Because I just think rebuilding work in the winter is more difficult than doing it in the summer. You've got more light and it's better and all the rest of it. So I really do think that we as a town council, as a target, should get that job on the front up and running this summer.
Okay. Any more comments? No? Councillor Yates then, please.
Yeah, just to comment on, the rush to an end on UK shared prosperity of the leadership team. This meeting earlier today at Staffs North District Council, and the feeling is that the levelling up fund, which doesn't affect middle, because that's capital, will have a 12-month extension because people are struggling to deliver. However, the UK shared prosperity fund, which is seen primarily as a revenue fund, there is not an expectation, or there's no good music to suggest that there will be any extensions. So you're probably right. There probably will be a sort of shall we say, a mop-up of spare funds to make sure that it's spent in time, because there's certainly no intention to send anything back.
And well, that's the point. If anything goes back to government, to me, we've missed it.
Yeah. Caveat, it's fair to say that we're on top of making sure nothing goes.
Not sure whether that shared prosperity fund is going to be renewed either.
Okay. Anything else? Any other comments?
All I'll just say to support that is absolutely. So there's no pots of money that we can put a grant application in available at the moment, but I do keep telling officers about projects that we've got that would be good to go. So hopefully, if it comes to a point at this year, and I imagine that will be September time, when funds don't look as though they'll be allocated, and they potentially start divvying up what's left, hopefully that those projects that we've put forward will be in the forefront.
Just very quickly, as we move towards the end of this process, is to actually see who are the proactive councils. I mean, I know Leek have got levelling up money, for instance, but I think, if we can say as a town that because of our action, we have managed to get this and managed to get it spent and out the door, I think it's another feather in our hat.
Moving on. Thank you for those comments. Moving on to 91. Consider a draft of the Town Council 5-year strategy attached. I shall go through them. There's 14 pages. I'll go through it one by one. Councillor Salk.
Well, I can say after all, before you want to go through it, but there's no mention of health and well-being that I can see. So I think you've got 4 pillars and then you've got lots of bullet points under each pillar, but I couldn't see anything linked to health and well-being. And I'd like something linked to health and well-being, please. So I think
Double checking on that.
it's underneath the 4th pillar, which is appropriate and meaningful community engagement and support. I think it probably, it does, health and wellbeing
I
project.
thought there was.
Sorry, take it back.
Right now where it is.
It's on page 14.
I'll go through it page 1 on page 1.
I think it doesn't say it.
That's at page 1, but health and well-being will be on page. If I have to just check in.
Yeah, no, you carry on.
All right, I thought it was in there, yeah.
I mean,
So much in here.
Wow.
Pause them in.
Listen, I was reading this Sunday, it's so much here, isn't it? So page 1. Okay. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10.
Right. There's a reference almost at the bottom about your health and wellbeing working group. It seeks to understand barriers to services and expand provision and understanding of those who need support. That references that work. Sorry, Chair.
Just wonder if it could be on page 12 as well. Underneath just a couple of
One of the pillars.
0.4 as one of the pillars on page 12.
Okay, go on to 12 then. Happy with that?
That's all right with the chief officer then.
Under the fourth pillar.
Yeah, just because that's where it sits, but when you've explained the 4 pillars, there's nothing linking it under the 4th pillar. Sorry.
13. And 14. Okay. Which is mentioned again on page 14. Health and wellbeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not under the explanation of the pillar. Yeah.
What it says there, Councillor Jackson.
Just to say that every photograph that is shown sky is shown blue sky. It's not always shines, is it?
That's right.
So Chair, if I may,
Thank
the
you.
next,
Please,
the
Doctor.
the next, if you're happy with this as a strategy document, then do you want me to put this out for kind of some community consultation? Shall I put this on the website and ask people to give us their views on that? And then beyond that, I will develop these actions that are part of the
Okay.
pillar, each pillar into our action plan, which we can then kind of monitor and scrutinise ourselves against.
Yes. Councillor Hawley first, please, now we'll go.
Yeah, it's just going back to page 10 where you're talking about the working groups. I just thought that basically you haven't mentioned the neighbourhood plan implementation working group. Do we need to put that in?
We can make reference, I think, to the something about the neighbourhood plan now, I think. Yeah, okay.
Okay, all in favour of that? So just
So
wanted to go through council before it goes in the public eye. All in favour?
who was your proposer and seconded, Chair?
Opposed?
Councillor Wood.
Yep, that can go in the public eye now, it's been passed through you. Very much for that. 92. Yes. Policies. As you know, it's mainly not excluding the other, but it's mainly the reds that we're looking at, which are the alterations or anything that wanted to be amended in the past. So start with the date, obviously. March 2024.
Appraisal and
Councillor
review.
Jackson.
They're on the appraisal review policy next to the last paragraph. It states, town council employees are its most important resource. Now, while I fully agree, vitally important, most. I'm just not 100% happy with the staff being the most important part of the council. I love you all dearly.
Get that in, defence in quick.
Let's rephrase it then. Like you rephrased it. Which, yes, goes to.
What page is it on?
On the first page of appraisal review.
Your other resources, are there any that are more important?
Antique. Oh, it's integral resource.
Integral is very good.
Yeah.
It's integral resource. Integral.
Councillor Hawley.
Yeah, that's the point I was sort of thinking. I mean, obviously, one of the things we talked about is sort of objectives being set and so on and discussed and what have you. At the end of the day, are we actually going to mark people Are they going to be a case of they've met their objectives? Have they exceeded or have they not met? Or is it just going to be a case of just going to leave it discussion and that's it? Because I mean, everywhere I've worked, and I presume most other people as well, potentially when you get a set objectives, you then sort of get scored against that objective. We don't seem to do that.
Through the process that we undertake the annual appraisal, so we set targets and then through our reviews, our catch-up meetings, we look at what our priorities are and we discuss those. And then next time we have our appraisals, we review whether we've been effective with those targets or not. And then I bring that back to you for your consideration, usually. What do you want? A scoring matrix?
Don't know about scoring.
It's pretty normal scoring matrix, to be honest.
Scoring matrix.
Not in the public sector, it's not.
Council.
I think it does say on 2.2, review performance. And for me, I think that's enough because then it says identify training needs and opportunities. So if performance was lacking somewhere, then you'd hope that as a result of that, you'd identify some kind of developmental need to rectify that performance issue. And I think if we had an issue with performance, and I'm sure Sarah can tell me about the particular policy that this covers, but there will be a policy. If we need to ask somebody to leave because they're not up to the job, that would come into a different policy that isn't appraisal. Which policy would that be?
I don't think we can criticise the performance. We've only got to look at this document to start with, haven't we? Yeah, carry on.
What did you say? Sorry, I missed that.
So I don't think we can criticise the performance of the staff.
No, I'm saying if.
No.
I wasn't criticising anybody. The conversation alluded to the fact that we need to score people, and I'm saying that this appraisal policy already asks us, or already asks the chief officer who does the reviews to review performance and to identify any developmental and training needs. And therefore, if something is identified, a training need would put in place. If you don't follow those training needs, I'm sure there'll be a policy that, if needs be, would ask somebody to leave. But I don't think we'll ever be in that position because I think this policy is robust enough to kind of achieve the objective. I'm not saying that anybody in this council should be asked to leave. Please don't think that. I'm talking about the policy.
Don't read councillors, isn't it?
No, I'm talking about the policy itself.
What's our big head?
That's the one.
Yeah, I mean, backing up Jill's argument, I think the most important thing is we can, if you like, is setting a bar, is how we achieve our goals as a council. And the officers are there to help us as elected members achieve our goals, our objectives, our goals. And if projects fail because systemic failure or whatever, but there's a difference. If an officer lets us down and doesn't do something which he should do, the timescale, let's say, and doesn't meet it for a bid, let's say, then they can be held accountable for that type of activity, if you like. But I don't think getting into matrices and scorings, I'm not into that at all. I much prefer a face-to-face appraisal. What are we expecting from you? What are you doing? If you're not doing it, then you've got to buckle. Like I say, if we had that for councillors, I think well, I'm not saying these people in this room would. But councillors would be wanted. Let's be honest.
So what amendment are we heading for, Chief Officer?
I think we just change the word most, aren't we? Unless anyone's got it now.
Okay, everybody happy with that?
Yes, move on.
Move second, all in favour?
A long time to get one word changed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Right.
The word we have.
Just on the first proposal and second, please.
Having proposed.
Nice word.
Who's, Councillor Jack?
Who's your second?
Climate change.
Right,
Catastrophic.
moving on to 92B. Privacy risk management policy. And again, the VEDS, as we all know, March 2024. First page. Mine aren't numbered, so I'll say second, third,
And a few changes.
No other changes on that one. Stay low on that one.
It's just dates that change.
Okay, all in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you.
you have any proposals there?
There's a seconder.
I'll second it.
Yates and Hart and Well Jones, whatever. That's one, all ends went up.
Next one from
Don't fight over it.
Hawley and Yates.
Thought you were watching.
Agree with the first two.
Yeah.
Councillors Hall and councillor.
That I got my head in the paper.
Better than in the bag.
Right. C. Flexible working policy. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3.
And if I may, just in terms of the work-life balance and the work flexibility, I know this,
Oh, sorry.
the district council are adopting the on 1.2,
Point 2, sorry.
you know, we promote work-life balance and support employees who wish to work flexibly. Have we looked at, you know, certainly the district are moving along the lines of people can work from home more than they have in the past. Now, I know have we assessed that? Have we thought of that? Whether we could, you know, it might suit some people working from home instead of having to travel into work. It's with the green agenda and,
Well, yeah, you
Yes,
do. You do work.
is the answer.
yeah.
So, more than anybody being permanently based at home, we don't accommodate that normally because obviously try to make sure there's enough office cover. Certainly if people have got big projects on or they need the peace and quiet of being at home, they certainly work from home.
We have got
most of the time. Yeah.
Sort of,
And that's the beauty of the laptops, not harping back to laptops again, but that, you know, they can be used anywhere.
Yeah, councillor.
Flexible working is something that personally I enjoy during my working life very much. From a personal convenience point of view, the jobs was capable of being worked flexibly, and that suited me. It strikes me that the council staff need themselves to be positive about flexible working. Without it, things just wouldn't function. For example, this evening, we've got 4 members of staff here now. When we have special events at weekends, there are members of staff helping to marshal and organise them on the ground. And I feel that there's a lot that we do expect from the staff in terms of being flexible to facilitate, to assist and facilitate our activities as a council, and to be equally flexible for their personal requirements where possible is nothing other than being only fair to them. That's my view.
Thank you for those comments. Any,
Is there anything needs changing in the
I
policy?
just want to say, is anything we're happy with all?
Let's move it on.
Move on.
There's lots of red, but it's all
Opposed?
very obvious.
All the red. Councillor Salt's trying to say something, to move to the second.
Minutes before we move forward, well done to whoever it is that has already noticed that there's a new piece of legislation coming, which is the Flexible Working Act 2023, and have already implemented those changes, and those are the changes that are in red before it actually becomes law. So well done for doing that and being ahead of the game once again.
Great.
So that was the named service in the second part.
Gordon Harper.
Okay, okay. Right, moving on to D, whistleblower policy. Yes, councillor Yates.
Yes, first page, second line from the bottom, it should be to qualify as disclosure, not to quality.
Right, typo.
I think that's been put in there as one of those sorts of you read.
If we're awake. So we can,
Oh, to second one up. To qualify disclosure.
Charlie's got one.
oh, it's in the C behind me, Charles. Councillor Smith.
So forward to, in certain circumstances, information, for example, with the police, so usually only occur if some form of criminal offences can be committed, blah, blah, blah. Also need to add in there, or if it's a safeguarding concern.
Mention that one.
Please,
So you'll obviously know that we have our employment solicitor who has eyes on these as well. She's actually come back today and said it's too restricted, just saying it's police that we'll share information with, so we need to talk about statutory services and that kind of thing, so we'll make some amendments in that section.
Maybe
Okay.
we were able to say, police or safeguarding concern, police see safeguarding policy.
Yeah.
Point taken, that will be corrected or changed. Have a second on that, please. Opposed. Opposed by the mayor, secondly by councillor Yates. And Hart, well, just so many hands went up.
You choose, Chair, you're the boss.
I'll put Mr Mayor and Mr Yates on this one. Then we've got two parties on that one, haven't we? Right. E, annual leave and special leave policy.
No alterations, is it? The one's not changed.
There's only the date on that one, so we should read the date, there's nothing else to add now. Okay,
Who's it up
propose
for?
it. Yeah. Seconded. Harper and Hart.
Two H's.
E. Received protocol and mark the death of a local holder of office.
Change, Jones.
Councillor Jones?
Yeah, Councillor Jones, you've moved on, second. Yates, then. So second, all in favour? Yeah. To approve the reviewed councillors' email and IT use guidance.
Flags.
Oh, sorry, I've taken it. I've taken it to advance.
George.
I'm ahead of myself, sorry.
Move it.
No, not yet, not yet. I've got a complaint.
Takes the same.
Well, mate.
Okay.
Wales is a country now, so where's the Welsh flag?
Mr Mayor,
It's faulty.
Not anymore.
You know.
No.
second, yeah.
I've got to oppose that.
So what say, what's your part of the union, sorry?
It's an, actually, as an example of very.
One meeting, please.
So you're discriminating against the one's flag? No, let's get it straight. It's a country in its own right and it's got its own flag.
We're not in Wales.
No, we're not in bloody Scotland either, are we?
Yeah, but it's about
Are we?
Union flag being considered a flag.
Union flag is.
Oh,
I've got a dragon on it.
that.
Sorry, but we blasted through that, annual leave and special leave policy. I wanted to ask about carers leave, because that's not included on there.
Well, it was.
We've got carers policy, actually, on that, yeah.
Quite a lengthy document.
The flag flying. I know the Welsh flag is not part of the Union Jack.
Union flag, not the union.
Yeah. I'm a sailor.
It's on.
Didn't know that.
As in the way it walks.
Let's just get a grip of this. Where is Sean? Councillor Smith, sorry. Let's get that one right.
She's okay. We're okay.
That's right, so
That's sorted now.
We're flying the flag.
There's, I can send you that, but there's all sorts of information in the carers policy on flexible working and leave requirements. Reference it in the annual leave.
Reference it, yeah, it's policy.
Is
Okay,
everyone happy with that?
all happy with that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Show of hands, please. Thank you. Where are we now?
That's fine.
Flags. Reviewed flag flying protocol. G.
Nike, St George's Cross. please.
All in favour of that one? Opposed and a seconder?
The council leader.
Carers badge.
We're losing the track a little bit. Point together, councillors.
Jason or
Okay.
As you know, I'm against it, so.
second.
That's the flag flying. On to H. Council's email and IT use guidance. H. And again, the date, obviously. Just the date, says on that one, yeah. Proposer,
Move it.
that's a Ward, seconder,
Second.
Jones, all in favour? Thank you. Approve the review and the reviewed councillors handbook. On J,
It's a year again, isn't it?
wants to know all this, with his eyes closed, this one.
Is that?
Any comments or thoughts or proposing a seconder, if everything's okay with you?
Not a man.
Go through it page by page.
See the precept that's changed and the date.
Proposed, Chair. I'll second. Thank you. We go all.
Martin
Harper.
Harper, yes, councillor Jackson.
Yeah, 5.2 on page 21.
Not yet.
5.1, was it?
5.2.
5.2.
So, right, everybody, I just object to being told what I can wear and what I can't wear, quite frankly. And looking around this table now, I should be thrown out because I'm wearing jeans and a pair of, well, not like the trainers or sneakers or what you'd call them. But I just object to being told what I can wear and what I can't wear coming to a meeting. And it definitely, it does sort of tend to be more male orientated, so ladies can more as wear whatever colours or whatever they want, but I do not believe we need to put that in there at all.
Councillor Jones.
So I don't disagree with Kevin. I like to wear shirt and tie. I've got tie tonight. I think it should be guidance. It's not.
It's mandatory to be thrown out.
Well, I don't agree with the mandatory, and I think it should be guidance.
We could change 5.2 to guiding principle.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, fine. Let's move on.
Got one or two speakers, but I take the point what you're saying.
Councillors would take the guidance on board because, you know, you've got to remember it, particularly now when we're in the public view here. Now, your electors are going to look at it in this chamber and make some judgments. Right or wrong, we are. So I think, guidance, but it should be guidance. I agree.
A few speakers here. Councillor Salt, then the mayor, Councillor Hart.
Just on this issue, on this issue, is it in the standing orders that we have to have a particular type of dress? Because if it is, then we've got to go back to the standing orders to change the standing orders before we change this.
Don't think it is.
Way around. If it isn't, I would say that on page 22, council's unable to comply with dress code due to a disability or health reason, granted a dispensation, but also it's about cultural dress. All of us in this chamber, I think, are white. But what if a lady came in wearing a sari, for example? That's not formal business attire. So I do think we need to future-proof it. And yet again, I object. It's like saying you can't do your job unless you're dressed in a certain tie. I just think it's a bit ridiculous, to be honest. And like I say, the voters will make a judgment, and they'll make a judgment on me sitting in this council chamber and the work I do outside this council chamber. I do think it's very old fashioned, I think it's very restrictive, and I think it needs to be bent personally, and I agree with you.
Get the point, call me old fashioned there, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, bums on seats and the bit you contribute to the meetings are important. What you wear, couldn't give a toss.
Yeah.
Sorry, you know.
So hard.
Slightly amusing, but when Councillor Jackson kicked off about this a couple of years ago, he threatened to come in a mankini.
I think we should.
I think we should see the monkey in the other.
We'll all go blind.
And there's a lid. There's a lid.
See for that.
I agree with everything that's been said, particularly some of those that work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and come straight from the work, and maybe don't have time to go home and get into a change of clothing before a meeting, because actually they dive straight from work. So, for example, Councillor Jones, if you were working on the ambulances and you had to.
I've actually sat in this chamber in council in uniform.
Yes, you have. You have.
So I think there are lots of circumstances where it's just not
It's what you
Not
contribute.
practical.
It's not what you.
Yeah, councillor Jones.
That's all right, the moment's passed, Jim. Thank you.
Move on.
Then we're kicking that bit of deduction.
Well, I think people should look respectable, put it that way, because I won't point fingers, but there's been towns, there's been in full councils have come in this room, like they just dragged themselves from under the hedge and come in this room, and I say I have fingers, I don't think it's right that they should do, they should look respectable.
I thought we were going to.
Just have a vote to whose standards is.
I've got jeans which are probably 3 times more the price than somebody's trousers.
It's a thin blue line, I suppose, but
So whose
think it should
standards
respect.
are we beholden to?
I think you should look respectable myself.
Let's have a vote then. Shall we get rid of it or not?
Which bits are we getting rid of? There's two small paragraphs, the one starting council meetings and the one starting with the mayor.
I move.
Councillor Foley.
I thought we discussed this last time, and I'm sure we got rid of it, because basically,
I hoped we had.
I mean, I was pretty convinced that we'd actually decided that you can sort of turn up. I mean, for a start off, it says council meetings and committee meetings are formal events. I mean, and in the 13 years I've been on council, a committee meeting's never been a formal event. And so that's a joke for a start. And I'm pretty certain that when we discussed this last year, when it came up, we decided to chuck it out. That effectively, as long as you're reasonably dressed, then fine.
As long as you're wearing.
Don't come in your swimsuit. Yeah.
Are you moving? Steph, are you?
If I'm in that, where are we going moved?
Yeah, I'd like to move, we get rid of 5.2, paragraph 1 and 2.
Second that. I mean,
Each have a seconder for that, yes?
Yeah, just-
Really, Mr Mayor.
In favour?
Have a vote on in favour?
of the favour of getting rid of it, yeah?
I think, Chair, to be fair, I mean, all councillors, I think, have got enough self-respect to dress reasonably appropriately, haven't they? You don't have to have a tie on.
If you notice in the House of Commons now, some of them don't wear ties.
Like, you know,
That was all.
I like to wear a suit and tie, but that's just me. I know you're the same, Chair. But it shouldn't be mandatory.
I mean, I'll put my suit and tie on full council, but I'm for committee meetings. I'll put my suit on and go fit.
Okay, we'll move on then. Move on, we've got a long way to go, yeah? Approve the new CCTV policy on J. There's one. There's two. Where are we at?
Yeah, it's brand new.
We haven't actually, it's on policy, have we?
Yeah,
No, we only.
so we're moving it.
It's got rid, you've got rid of two paragraphs, you need to.
Chair.
So move the rest of the policy without those 2 paragraphs.
Got a question.
Oh, Jill.
Yeah.
Come on then, I
I
thought
didn't
we'd,
realise that the Knightley Highways project was a town council project. I thought that was a Keith Lunder project.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I was surprised. that
Got
was in there.
kidnapped.
What's,
Sorry.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
London out.
You know what?
no, it was Keith Funder started the project, but because we were being paid through DHP, we set it up as a working group that we administered. But we can finish that whenever.
Are we,
Before the meetings. One I haven't called a meeting for age.
you got red for now,
Let's leave
want to
it
get
be.
involved with that.
The background to that is that John had asked Keith to
Get
move
involved.
forward with the bollards
Yeah.
around the green. That's how that started.
That's the start of it. That's how it started, yeah.
And we said we would do the administration and call the meetings and do the minutes and what have you.
I'm not precious, but just asking.
I quite agree with
Move
you.
out of control.
So just moving back, I thought we'd vote on that. So removing those 2 policies, and we are going to propose that as a seconder, and we're all in favour. Yes, thank you. Moving on. Happy with that, Margaret? Okay. Moving on, CCTV policy. Page 1. Three. Page 4. Finish it off at 5. Okay with that one? How's it in a second? That's a solve.
Need to mention who the data controller is. I think it does, it mentions GDPR and stuff, but do you think we should make it restricted to the chief officer and other persons required by the chief officer? Therefore, the chief officer's of data control. I wonder if it's pertinent to mention.
I think so as a whole is the data control. Is it on the Information Commissioner's office? It says the town council rather than, I'm not a registered individual as part of that entity as a whole.
Do you think it should say something like, because you know how you put you or someone authorised by you, so
Yeah.
then you were incapacitated and you couldn't authorise, you think we should just put the town council then? The town council is the data control. It's to the chief officer for the data.
So if I wasn't there, you'd designate my tasks to whoever, so you'd have to do that though, because you're
As a council.
as a council, data control.
Okay.
Just gone straight ahead and answered. Sorry.
We're happy to do that bit.
Yeah, I'm not.
Okay, point taken. Second on that one.
No, we don't need to make a change.
Right. Okay, all in favour? Yeah,
Even a proposal.
yeah, opposed. Councillor Yates. Oh, yeah. That's the policies. Moving on to 93. CA.
Just move on to that. Forgive me, it's not a policy really, and I don't want to discuss it tonight, but I think we should have some reference or policy or some documentation about, it seems to be a thing now, councillor safety, personal safety. Given what's gone on with,
Downstairs.
particularly with what, and not just town council, but officers as well.
Yeah.
With what happened in, and maybe we should have some structured documentation just to give us guidance. I know it's happening I'm pretty certain it's happening at week. I'm certain it's
The
happening.
district, there's an email come out this week, which I'll forward to you, sir, which, you know, it's
I'm not
it's a good policy.
now, but I think
Yeah,
just want to keep in view for later.
it's one of them, it'll never happen here, but it does unfortunately. I can't see next.
Forward it to you.
Yes, I was just going to say is that we've had guidance from county, and the guidance has been also flattened up from staff small district council, which is effectively the county guidance, which I think has got some good reference links. And I just think that the obvious thing to do is to pass that guidance on to all Biddulph councillors, just so we can follow.
I couldn't think of anyone else to slot the comment in, Chair, but.
Yeah, it's point taken now, it's a valid point.
Just keep in view.
It's one of them, it'll never happen in Biddulph, isn't it? But
You never know.
It was
You never know.
over the weekend on the Sunday Telegraph. And they'd had a front page article about it. And there are a number of councils that are getting very, very concerned.
Quite.
An invasion at Haringey Council that perturbed a lot of people.
Thank you for that comment, yeah.
Chair.
Okay,
It might, if I might just say, we've a number of policies that would touch on that. So we've got violence at work policy, we've got lone working policy. We've got risk management stuff. But I will definitely look at that and see whether there's something we can bring all of those together.
And just see what we can.
Yeah. Yeah, we've talked before about whether it's appropriate to kind of have something in reception that says, you know, we won't tolerate this, we will tolerate that, you know, that kind of thing. But yes, I'll definitely look at that and see if we've any gaps in that. Thank you.
Oh, valid point, that. Thank you.
We discussed that before about having something downstairs, the area, and you might not think so, but I thought.
I know I've been concerned about this, the state of the staff downstairs, but I think We need more depth guidelines.
There was an incident, Chair, at Staff Smalllands, where somebody wasn't supervised properly by County Council Social Services and managed to gain access to parts of the other building when they were setting off fire alarms and doing all sorts of mischief. And that was a client with a mental health problem. And they just hadn't kept very close watch on them, and they run around the building.
Okay, thank you. Anyway, moving on. All right, thank you for your comments. Anyway, we move on. A long way to go there. 93, to consider disposal of any assets in line with the asset management policy and financial regulations. Table, please.
Thank you. Yep. So in your pack then, the notes for the meeting, you'll see that we would like to dispose of the 9-foot trailer, which,
What we're bringing on that one.
yeah, but we still need to dispose of the asset.
Okay,
8 green and white stripy roofs. Several broken plastic patio set items. These are all items that have been in the storage at Biddulph Park where our market stuff was. There are parts of gazebos we've salvaged as much as we can to kind of make do and mend with those. And then we need to get rid of 3 folding tables as well. So I'll bring those to you, not because they are high value items, but just because there are a few of them. First one is higher value, obviously, but and those are the priorities in terms of how we intend to spend or have spent the funding from the district council.
thank you, councillor Hart.
I propose that we authorise the Chief Officer to remove them either for recycling or for disposal responsibly. And those items which are saleable, we propose that we allow the Chief Officer to put them up for sale. Good.
Thank you. I'll come on to 93B in a second, and I'll give you some figures on that one. Well, the 93A, we're all opposed.
I'll second.
Councillor Jones, all in favour?
What condition is this trailer in?
I'll just get on to that to you now. On 93B, I'll go a little bit more in depth on this so agenda item. Consider the sale of the trailer. This is no longer required for markets. You may or may not know there's actually 2 trailers. We started off with a large trailer, which we no longer need, but we still need the smaller trailer. The large trailer was bought for £2,990 in 2013. So it's 11 years old. We've actually been offered £1,500 for it. It needs considerable work on it. The brakes are seized, the tyres are perished. We think it's not a bad offer at £1,500 as it stands.
As the original proposer, I would say that's a pretty good offer.
Won't change your mind.
Yeah. So we need a proposal, councillor Hart.
I feel like I ought to think we have done some benchmarking on that. We've been on eBay, for example, and looked at that. It needs a new hitch. The whole of the bottom of it is shot, so it needs new boards
I
in the
wouldn't
bottom.
say too much, they might enjoy the offer.
No, he thinks it's a reasonable
It's
offer.
a pretty good nick for 2013.
And the issue that we've got, of course, there is that that's the last thing that's at the shed at Biddulph Park. And to actually move it elsewhere would be a real challenge. We'd have to fix it in order to sell it and move it, so.
Yeah.
We're going to have to spend £500 on it, get £2,000. Get 500, get 1,500 as it stands. Proposed, councillor Hart, second councillor Jones, all in favour?
Yes.
Thank you. 93C, approved suppliers as part of the procurement policy.
Yep, so they're in your pack as well. There's just 2 of those. They're to confirm that they have submitted all of the appropriate documentation for us. So we would use them if there are emergencies or to go to them to ask for quotations.
Let's go after you speakers. The Mr. Mayor first and then Jackson.
Let's go back to the previous one. You mentioned 2 trailers.
Yeah.
We've gone through the big one.
Yeah.
What about the second trailer?
Still need that, the
That's
market.
okay.
We're keeping that.
Still using that one.
Right.
Yeah, so we need the smaller one, but we want to dispose of the bigger one. Yeah. Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, I've moved on from the trailers and we're on the suppliers. I just wonder, Sarah, whether there's, if, we could send a little perhaps mail shot out to all of our suppliers. If there's anything that we need to know about, or 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 anything that we need to know mentioning our bit of Works Together project, it might be useful. Obviously, you know, any contracts would not be dependent on them joining that scheme, but it would be looked on very favourably if they did.
Yes, by way of an update on that, so Andy's drawing together that scheme for us at the moment with the kind of rules and regs. So
Be
we'll,
good in though. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, so that would be the way forward. So hopefully, I want to put words in Andy's mouth, we'll get something to you for the next time in communities meeting.
Yeah, councillor Saul.
No, I think I was just saying it was very exciting.
Very good, Councillor. All right, no worries. Councillor Yates, sorry.
Yes, is there new suppliers recorded on the website? People to look at, obviously, in the public, yes, no.
No.
Are they available for public inspection if requested?
Um,
Because we do, obviously, put them in the public domain as individuals as they come up, but as a collective list. I asked because I did have an email sort of inquiring about, do we have a list of approved contractors, and it was potential for a sort of, or do I need freedom of information request in which perhaps administratively clunky if the list is available, because we do discuss them and approve them in the public domain. So technically, if you go back through all the minutes over the years, they all collectively there in the public domain. Just a sort of anecdotal thought, but it did raise a query, and obviously it's come up here as we putting two more on the list in public.
Well, it's right that we should put them on in public,
I
because
fully
that
agree.
process is supposed to be transparent, but we have approved them in line with our policy. So we wouldn't recommend them necessarily, we just know that they are suitable contractors for our work. As whether they're any good for domestic properties, whether they've experienced that kind of environment. Obviously, we've got some quite specific projects and buildings that we deem them to be suitable for. But certainly if someone wants to put a freedom of information request in, we absolutely will respond to that appropriately.
Thank you. Councillor Yates, come back, then we'll move
Yeah, I'll
on.
just come back. It wasn't in relationship to approved suppliers for general. It was just an inquiry on does the town council for their own purposes have approved suppliers of contractors, and is that list publicly available? Obviously, like I reiterate, the details are in the public domain if you go back through previous minutes, through previous years, but is there a central point which is accessible by the public?
There's any harm in doing it, is there? If it do, being transparent by doing it this year.
All right, we're all in favour of that anyway, to add these,
You're adding these to our list.
we're all in favour to add these two to our list. Yeah, thank you.
Frozen.
Frozen. Sorry, Jones, Smith, seconded. Thank you.
Smith.
Jones and Smith, yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to leave. I'm not in a very good place at this particular time.
All right, no worries, thank you, but at this moment of time, we will now go into confidential. So thank you, YouTubers, for watching us to this point, but we're now going to confidential items, and we will be switching off YouTube, but thank you for watching. Good night.
Now